buildings, there's a deep emotional connection between, whether you feel it or not, in a sense, between Canadians who live in a liberal democracy like we do and places like this. Every time you see it, they reflect something. There are, I don't know about all of us, but most Canadians would die defending these buildings. They have such powerful symbolic importance. And so when you're trying to build a democracy in a country that has nothing, it's not just that they don't have virtually nothing. They don't have the ideas, they don't have the traditions, they don't have the philosophies. They also don't have any kind of physical thing that they can hang it around. And that's one of the things that makes these buildings so significant to me, and I think to what we are as Canadians, and to our very nature. You know, people look at question period, you see question period, that's the, you know, quote unquote the worst, and we all hate politics because we see question period. I've been in many question periods. I'm in the Senate, and I was elected for years, and I was the leader of the opposition. I didn't like question period particularly either. But I'll tell you something about question period, it is, when's the last time an elected representative ever got to ask the President of the United States anything? We get to ask the Prime Minister and the government every single day. And yes, they may be yelling at each other, but they're not killing each other. And yes, you may think it's that whatever they're yelling about kind of offends you, but if you're somebody else who's got that problem, there's somebody in there yelling on your behalf. And that's one of the reasons why this system works so well. Question period is just one example of why it works so well. The parliamentary system of government is the most successful system of government on the face of the earth. It's lasted 900 years. There is no other system of government that has lasted that long. And why is that? Because it works. And it works for all kinds of reasons. I think, Dan, you and I were talking about partisanship. You can't be partisan, and I get that. Everybody says, oh, I hate party politics, and I hate partisan. I say, if you don't like partisan, go to China. You know, go to Russia. There's only one party there. No partisanship there. Partisanship is a way to package ideas and to define choices in a political process, a democracy. And parties are one of the reasons why this parliamentary system has lasted as long as it has. Because democratic systems need a whole bunch of things, but they need three things in particular in my experience. They need somewhere where somebody's yelling for you if you're unhappy. It needs, it's a pressure, it's a safety valve. They need ways to build consensus. Because we got 34 million people living in one of the biggest countries, almost the biggest country of the world, spread out across, well, you know, because you're on the train, thousands of miles. Well, how do you bring all those disparate ideas together and make a place like this work as well as it works? You have to be able to build consensus. So parties are a way of doing that. Parties meet, individuals, normal, ordinary, everyday individuals like all of us meet and talk. We have caucuses here, so Justin Trudeau is the head of our caucus. I sit in the National Caucus, all the elected representatives, all the Senate. Another time, we just had meetings this morning, we talk. We have the legislature. People think that the legislature sounds, it's all stunned and yelling at each other and nothing happens and it's not important. No, the power of ideas. Once those ideas are out there, the power of it is that they begin to take on a life of their own and they fashion and refashion and reform. And that's building consensus. And the third thing you need is you don't need precipitous change. You can't have things just happen too suddenly in a democracy, or it really screws things up. So there's all kinds of checks and balances that are intrinsic. But back to the idea of how noisy and awful it can appear, the fact of the matter is that if every single thing that anybody said when they stood in that place or they stood in that place, the Senate or the House of Commons, if it was the stupidest thing ever said right up until the next thing that's said, every time, and made no sense at all, it would accomplish one of the most important and significant things that can possibly be accomplished in a democratic process, and that is, it is a representation of your right to freedom of speech every time a member of parliament or a senator gets up to speak in either of those two places. And that is a priceless advantage and value and remarkable gift that we have in this remarkable, wonderful, very difficult country to govern. But so I've given you a whole bunch of stuff really quickly, and that's kind of how I feel. Yes?
The students get to experience question period tomorrow.
Yes.
For the first time, so they'll get to see exactly what you're talking about. Can you give us an example of a typical day in your life? You said you had a meeting here this morning, and now you're here tonight. It sounds like a long day.
Yeah.